That's understandable, but don't tell me you're too old.
No, I wouldn't mind getting in. If any of the wild horse racers need a backup rider, like if their rider gets hurt, I would still do it, but I'm not.
Explain the wild horse race to me. I don't think I know what that is exactly.
So the wild horse race is it's Dayton's signature event, I would say. It's where you have 8 horses. They're all wild, and you have teams of 3 people on each team. One person is holding the lead rope to try to keep the horse steady. The other person jumps up and bites the horse's ear to try to keep them distracted from the rider who is about to put the saddle on the horse and strap it down and then get on. Then you have to ride it across the finish line. And the most dangerous part of the whole thing isn't riding the horse. It isn't biting the ear. It's keeping an eye out on the other horses that are in the arena that could be running loose, or that's where people get hurt, is when they get freight trained by horses running around loose. And
but freight trained by a horse.
But around the country, like Cheyenne is noted for their wild horse race, but it's completely different because they have a huge racetrack that the rider has to ride the wild horse. I don't know if it's 3/4 of a mile or how long. And so I think Dayton's is more exciting because it's such a small arena where you have such chaos in a small area. So it's a little more entertaining.
Sure. A friend of mine up in Montana used to go to the Calgary Stampede. He used to say that was quite a thing. He invited me several times, but I always made an excuse. I didn't want to make the drive, I don't think. But I've seen it on video. Wow, that's really
speaking of Calgary and political issues, a couple riders, professional riders who normally would go to that, decided not to because they have vaccine requirements to enter into. I don't know if it's to enter into Canada.
The Calgary Stampede,
yep.
Really?
So they're foregoing that event, which is the largest rodeo in the world.
Wow.
To make a political stand.
Well, do they have a problem with unvaccinated cowboys around the Calgary area, or what?
I guess.
You know, Nevin Mulholland was here yesterday. We have a sports show once a week. Nevin went down to the College World Series, and one of the teams out of the 26 players, 13 were vaccinated. So the College World Series would not allow players to enter the contest without vaccination. So this team really had a poor performance because most of their players had traveled across the country, and they should, this is a failure of coaching. The coach should have known the position in the College World Series, and they could have stayed home. But no, he drags the team halfway across the country. And then
if somebody doesn't bring it up, then how else are you supposed to know? I mean, that's not common sense.
We know what's been going on in this country for over a year now.
Yeah.
That would be an obvious question for a person with that sort of responsibility.
True.
That'd be the first question out of my mouth. I never agreed with some of the harsh positions that were taken around the country, especially in Michigan. That was barbaric. But Governor Reynolds did what she had to do, I think.
She did.
So we're good.
Hey, I just noticed that you are truly bipartisan because I see a Kamala Harris bumper sticker.
That's right. I'll tell you what, Kamala Harris came through here when she was running for the Democratic Party nomination.
Oh, really?
Yes, she did.
That's awesome.
And she was over at the Second Baptist Church here in town.
Okay.
And Sherry Washington kindly invited me as a member of the media.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a little time with the future vice president, then Senator Kamala Harris. She was, she dazzled me. She really did. For one thing, she was a very attractive woman. And she didn't know that much about farming, being from San Francisco. I don't blame her. But she was very sharp. And again, I was very impressed with her.
Oh, yeah, she is. And kind of remind me of, Representative Helen Miller. One of the neat things that she did when she was representative was she would fly in other legislators from around the country that were from urban areas. And so,
Helen Miller was an outstanding representative.
Yeah.
Outstanding. If the Democratic Party had more people like her running for office, they'd do a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
They just have a lot of activists who hold positions now.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but Helen Miller was great for our state. She was from New Jersey originally. She didn't know much about farming, but she educated herself.
Yeah, she did.
And she put together that urban-rural panel or whatever it was in Iowa.
Yeah.
to help people in urban areas understand farming better, which was, how could you ask more from your representative if you're from a rural area?
Yeah, when I was a part of the Farm Bureau, I remember we would give Friends of Agriculture distinctions, and that was always a no-brainer to give her that distinction, which was...
See, there you go. Are we multicultural or not? I mean, Helen Miller was a fine person to talk to as well. I talked to her there several times, and she was very likable and very, very sharp. And I was outraged at the time when she was in office. I was outraged that an 80-some-year-old pervert was in a Pomeroy Care Center and molested a 95-year-old woman. And nothing was ever really done about that. But Helen tried to get something done about it. She went down practically every time there was an Eggs and Issues. I'd ask her. I would be the first one to the microphone. And I'd ask her if she had done anything, and she explained who she'd spoken to, and she agreed with me that this was a serious issue. But she also said that down in Des Moines, there wasn't a lot of interest in it. That's because the healthcare industry's got a lot of money to spread around, Democratic and Republican both. So,
for sure.
but she was someone of great sensitivity, and I really admired her. And I'm sorry we lost her. I don't know where she lives now, but I haven't seen her around here.
I think she's still on a board down at the Capitol. I saw her in a subcommittee meeting one day, and I didn't have a chance to talk to her, but she was representing some board there. So
okay, yeah, she used to live in those little, I think they called them downtown Brickstones or something, not far from the Capitol. I knew another person that lived in those, but she lived down there during the session, certainly, and maybe pretty much year round. I don't know.
Yeah.
She was more of a city girl really at heart, I think.
Yeah.
I don't, I'm acting like I really know her. I don't.
No,
I don't. I don't. But anyway, Jesse Green's here.
So.
All right. Well, you want me to pick topics for you? Because I got a million of them, Jesse.
Go ahead.
Like, where in the world is Mike's section? Have you seen him?
I guarantee. I know he loves parades, and so I'm sure he's
going to do that. Yeah.
He's probably at a parade somewhere on what was this Wednesday afternoon?
Wednesday afternoon, he probably is. No, I'm just giving Mike some guff. Ethanol. I was a little surprised again, and we've talked about it before, and I've talked about it with Senator Kreinbrink and Representative Meyer as well. A little surprised ethanol didn't get a little more help down at the State House this year.
Well, so that was one of the topics I personally took a little beating on for a little bit, because as the bill was evolving through the Capitol, it takes 9 steps for a bill to hit the governor's desk, and each step of the way, that particular bill was changing very drastically, and as that bill was changing, the talking points for and against were not, except unless your only talking point against it was we are completely anti-mandate, which that bill had never changed from a mandate to an incentive based bill, and so inevitably it died, and I don't see it getting resurrected again for a couple years. And from my standpoint, the reason why I don't think it will get brought up again for a while is last year they did pass some tax incentives that would help incentivize gas stations to sell E15. And that is why you are this year seeing more and more options for E15. And we need to see what the results of that legislation is going to be before we start trying to fix a problem that's not there. We sell twice as much ethanol, I believe, than Minnesota, and Minnesota has a mandate. So it's not always do mandates accomplish what you want, and actually I would say a lot of times mandates accomplish the opposite of what you want. So when it comes to products like that.
Yeah. Well, Biden again and his group are real big on climate change. A number of years ago, California wouldn't even allow ethanol. They thought it was a pollutant, but I think we got that problem cleared up. Now, ethanol is so important to our economy, especially in this part of the state and around the state, but especially in this part of the state with all the ethanol plants that we have.
That's why it's such a great bipartisan issue, is because it is good for the environment and it's good for our economy. So yeah, that's a win-win.
Is it bipartisan down in the state now?
It depends. Like this year, that was a mandate that they were trying to legislate, and so that's not a bipartisan issue at that point. I think 99% of Republicans are against any form of mandate generally. But then again,
they don't like mandates.
But then again, let me think this through about every
Are you
law.
in that 99%?
About every law is some sort of mandate, right? But
yeah,
but we don't want to force small businesses to have to sell something that they don't want to sell. That's the bottom line.
I understand, but we have to acknowledge it with Biden in the White House, and hopefully he'll be out soon. I really think he'll resign about the halfway point because he's badly senile. It seems to me he's losing it pretty bad. And Kamala Harris is young and vibrant. So I can't see him really finishing his own term. I'm not wishing ill on the man.
Yeah.
But hey, I don't have the memory I used to, and I'm 8 years younger than Biden.
Yeah.
Things happen in life. People get older, and that's happening to Joe Biden. But the point is, we have to deal with Biden right now, and he is pushing electric cars, and I'm still not sold on him. There's been some good arguments made. For example, we never need gas anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, the price of electric cars is up right now, but there is that we don't need gas anymore. Now, there's a good side to that, of course. The price of gas, I went and filled up the other day. Price of unleaded was $3.20, for God's sake. It's gone up over $1 in just a year. There's a reason for that, and that's Biden, shutting down all the pipelines and all those things. But we have to deal with Biden. And if he can, he'll try to kill ethanol. I know he will. He doesn't seem to care about the flyover states. California is about it for him. What can we do as a state to push back on that, do you think? Because the federal government has a lot of power.
Well, I guess a couple thoughts came to mind when you were kind of sharing your thoughts is Biden wants Iowa. I mean, Trump won by 9 points, and that was kind of a different factor, but an average Republican presidential candidate, it's going to be a tighter race than that. And if he throws ethanol under the bus, I think he can forget about Iowa.
He'll throw Cindy Axne right under the bus in that case.
Yeah. And so,
of course, he might not care about that.
No, I think he's going to tread lightly on that issue. And I've been in this long enough to realize that rhetoric is a lot different than what actually happens most of the time. So.
Jesse, you've been there a little over a year. You're already that cynical, huh?
I am.
Way to go!
So, optics are everything. Right?
Optics are everything. Well, I know that as well. That there's a lot of talk, and then and I've heard from representatives at the federal level and the state level. I think Chuck Grassley was talking about it just the other day. We may appear before television cameras, on radio, or whatever, and fight and act like we don't like each other, but there's a lot of comedy. There's a lot of comedy at the state house and at the federal government. These guys play golf with each other sometimes. I remember back in the late '80s, Dan Quayle, who was vice president at the time, debated Senator Lloyd Benson from Texas, who was also a vice presidential candidate. And Benson just laid him out in a debate, televised debate. I don't know if anybody, I'm sure people remember this, older people especially, but Quayle kept mentioning Jack Kennedy's name. As Jack Kennedy said that. And Benson was an older man, and he was just shaking his head at Quayle. And he turned to Quayle and said, I served in the Senate with Jack Kennedy. Jack Kennedy was a friend of mine. Senator Quayle, you're no Jack Kennedy, or words to that effect. Amazing. And the crowd just fell apart. 2 days later, and it shook Quayle. He said, that was unnecessary, Senator Benson. It shook Quayle bad. 2 days later, Lloyd Benson and Dan Quayle are playing tennis.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm still trying to get used to that. What is the right view of how do you relate to somebody in the Capitol versus outside the Capitol? I just heard Steve Deace speak the other day.
Deace, oh boy, you are over in the conservative crowd.
Oh my goodness, that was.
You may want to wait a while before you get on his show.
That was quite the speech, and he just went on about how they elected us to go to war in the Capitol, and when we when we soften up that there are repercussions. You should tar and feather rhinos and different things that he said. And
I like Jace.
but there is a reality that policy is where we go to war. It's not with fists and guns and stuff like that. It's at it's at the ballot box, and I can completely see that how it's possible to have a very good friendship outside. Antonin Scalia, he was great friends with Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
That's really something. And
they were best friends.
Great. I mean, she just cried when Scalia died. Ruth Bader Ginsburg just was almost inconsolable outside the church.
And here's what's kind of been hard for me is I see how strong those friendships and relationships can be with people that do not see the world the same as you do. If you can develop some sort of relationship and friendship with them, those are the strongest ones. And I have a harder time within our Republican Party of how to relate to certain people inside and outside the Capitol when you just don't know where they stand sometimes. And I've come to the point where it's I get a little quieter within my circles because I just don't know how to relate to some of them.
You're not that kind of guy, Jesse, from what I've taken from you. You're not the type of guy to just rage. If you were, you'd have my job.
Yeah.
And I had an epiphany of sorts, and I've told the story many times, with Supervisor Nikki Conrad. Nikki doesn't believe as I do at all, but she reached out at a difficult time in my life when I had COVID, and did what she could to help. And when I say Democrats, I don't mean Nikki. When I'm cussing the Democrats, I don't mean Nikki, because I know she's a fine person. And I was talking with Jim Kirsten yesterday. Darrell Beale was a good guy, is a good guy. He was a senator and he worked hard in local politics, solid Democrat for many years, no doubt still is. Solid, good guy. I always liked Darrell. So it pains me sometimes to say Democrats suck, even though they do. But I have to remember and put a rejoinder in there that some of these people are my friends.
Yeah.
And I've known them most of my life, and they're good human beings. And better than a lot of Republicans I've met, And I wish we could see the Democrats could see Republicans the same way. And maybe they do. Maybe they do see Republicans the same way, but they might fight with them in public. But if I see some of the Democrats on the street, not all of them, but if I see some of the Democrats on the street, I'll smile and wave and shake hands anytime.
Yeah.
Not all of them. There's some of them that are just nasty. But when I get on this horn here and I start talking the way I do, I got to expect that. So I'm not that upset about it.
Yeah. No, I just it perplexes me when there's certain Democrats that will not speak to publicly with somebody that doesn't view things the same way.
There's ideological fanaticism going on.
Yeah, and one of the benefits of free speech is that it forces you to understand why you believe what you believe, and out of the other side of a free speech conversation between two different people, it should build each other up to be stronger people and how they walk through the world and how they live their lives. And I always think it's so strange when people refuse to talk policy with one another and hash it out. But
social media didn't help anything. But I look back to the time of Abraham Lincoln. One of his political opponents kept referring to him as a guerrilla.
Mm-hmm.
And Thomas Jefferson, one of the greatest Americans, was a slaveholder, and he was harshly denounced by abolitionists in his time. And frankly, he should have been. But that doesn't mean he was a genius. He wasn't a genius and a fine man for his time. I'm always twisted up when I think of Thomas Jefferson or people like him because they were slaveholders. My God, how could I even think they were decent human beings and hold slaves as they did? But Thomas Jefferson was a fine man. And why he thought, and people of his time, wise people of his time, ever thought that slavery was acceptable in any way, I have no idea, other than slavery's in the Bible. But you got to grow out of that sort of thing and understand Jesus would never.
Well, obviously, a large portion of society back then didn't, and one thing that some people forget to remember is that we were one of the first developed countries to get rid of slavery. We're not a perfect nation. We're all flawed, and because of that, there's no perfect church, there's no perfect family, there's no perfect country. but we were one of the first countries to get rid of it. We spilled a lot of blood to get rid of it.
Yes, we did. 3 of my great uncles died in Andersonville.
And
They went specifically for slavery.
I know some people are going to take this as I'm being visceral or divisive, but I've looked at some of the critical race theory curriculum, and one it talks about trying to shed light on the truth.
Oh,
Well, one
critical
thing,
race theory is a lie.
well, one thing I know it doesn't talk about is how the Democrat Party was so slow to purge slavery out of its mindset. So,
Hey, critical race theory teaches that merit is bad. We shouldn't promote on the basis of merit, and that objective truth is a tool of white supremacy.
Yep.
Think about that for a minute. There is no such thing as merit, and there's no such thing as truth. There's only color, and that's all we should ever.
This is
consider.
Dave Graveline. Be sure to listen to Into Tomorrow right here on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD.
Boss, head man, top dog, big cheese, a head honcho.
Call now. 515-955-1400.
That's right. If you want to ask a question of the mayor, it's 955-1400. Yeah, I'm going to be gone as of tomorrow. I'll be gone through next Wednesday. Don't worry, I'll still be at home, and I have several weapons, so that's not an invitation for you to come and break into my house. I always urge people when they're on my show. I had a city councilman almost do it the other day. He was going to announce that he was going to go on vacation. He or she was going to go on vacation, and don't do that. Didn't you have your house broken into years ago when you were still at your other house?
Yeah.
Was it just a vandalism thing, or?
No, they kind of knew we were gone. And
Yeah.
broke in and did some vandalism and stole a bunch of stuff.
Were they caught?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they stole a handgun that I had in the house, and then they took it out in the country and broke the case open and stuff and got the handgun out. And then they went to a party or something and bragged about it. And
Brilliant.
yeah,
Brilliant.
hey, we broke in the mayor's house and we stole this gun. And some nice young guy went home and said, "Hey, Dad, I don't like being a tattletale, but these 16,
These are kids, weren't they?
17-year-old kids have this gun and they claim it's the mayor of Fort Dodge." So the dad called the sheriff, and the sheriff called the police chief and said, "Hey, we think we know where Bemrick's gun's at." They went into the house and it was there.
It was there.
They recovered it.
Well,
And a few other items
that's
they recovered, and
way-
some of the jewelry and stuff we never found. So we don't know if it ended up in a pawn shop or
who knows. Yeah.
yeah, we'll never know.
Yeah. Did they make?
They
Make
left.
it, man.
They opened our refrigerator and our freezer and left them open. We were gone
Ju-
for a week,
Just out of orneriness. Huh?
evidently. They left the sliding glass door to the patio open. And we had like a screened-in porch, so the porch windows were open,
Mm-hmm.
cracked. Just let a little ventilation in, and that porch would get really hot
Mhm.
in the summer heat. Well, they left that open, and my air conditioning ran for like on overload for the week we were roughly gone. And
Sweet kids.
yeah,
Did they go? Did they get a little break down to Eldora or what?
they had some different stuff happen.
Yeah.
I think a couple, they've all grown up, and
Yeah, that was a long
I've
time
seen
ago.
I've seen them around there. They're kind of sheepish when they see me, but
Should be. Well, that was 10 years ago. At least.
they've kind of grown up. They have jobs, or they made a mistake. They did something dumb, and
Yeah.
they paid their penalty. I don't hold any ill will against them.
Well, I probably bored people to death with tales of my youth. Kevin Crimmins and I get on the air or on his podcast, and we're always talking about the 70s and not remembering anything. But
Yeah,
but what I do remember, it was great. I had a lot of fun.
good times.
I was reckless and did some things I would never think of doing.
Things I
today.
remember seem like they were fun.
That's exactly right. I don't really remember what happened, but it seems to me I had a good time. Anyway, this portion of the program brought to you, not this portion of the program, but I am broadcasting from the Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters studio. And Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters is at 612 South 32nd Street in Fort Dodge. You may contact Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters by calling 576-6481. Let's start with the weekend, Matt.
Yeah,
I was texting you a little earlier today about where the fireworks were going to be at. You didn't know at the time.
I didn't.
I have since contacted Ferrick, or did you find out?
I didn't. I've literally been kind of on the grind all day today.
Okay, well, we are going to have fireworks this year, July 3rd at the Speedway.
Oh,
Okay.
that's right. I did know that.
Okay, according to
You mentioned it.
yeah,
where
really,
it's at.
really, I've bypassed you, council people, and even you. Ferrick seems to know all
Ferrick's
things,
he's the man.
isn't he? Yeah,
He is.
yeah. Friday at the Speedway. He tells me
Yes,
Friday, and Friday's
Friday at the Speedway.
Friday's the first, isn't it?
correct.
Okay, no, yeah,
No,
tomorrow.
tomorrow's the first. Friday's the second. Saturday the third. Sunday is the fourth.
Okay, that's right.
Because we recognize the holiday on Monday.
Right. Okay. So the second at the Speedway. Gosh, I haven't been out there in a while.
I haven't either.
They still have races out there? Is that open for business? I never hear
Um,
about it anymore. Or do you
Yeah,
know?
I think so. Yeah, they have some races out there. There's races out there, and then I think the Fairgrounds is doing some different kinds of events too. They got their figure eights or their demolition derby, and then they do some truck stuff out there. And then I heard there's a motocross thing going to be out there.
At
out at the fairgrounds.
okay.
I don't
I'm not
know
a-
any-
I'm
I don't
not-
know any details about it, but I
I'm
heard
not a
about it.
huge fan of figure eight. I'm more of an oval track guy. But
Yeah.
I've gone out to the Fair Board has hired me a few times to go out there and be their track announcer.
Oh, that's
I
fun.
always it was always fun. You know, it was
Good
always
times.
great. I've been broadcasting races off and on since 1982.
Really.
Yeah, I did a couple of gigs over in Webster City. I really
Well, I've
was.
done wrestling with you.
Yes, you have.
Yeah.
And
You don't know much about it, but you definitely know how to fill air.
as it turned out, I wasn't real familiar with the invitational process. We went over to Manson,
Yeah.
and it was not an invitational.
was
Excuse me,
sectionals.
sectionals, right? And I was not as familiar as I once was with the sectionals at
Mhm.
all. And if it wouldn't have been for you, I would have been totally lost in what they were doing over
It
there.
was fun. I would do wrestling anytime the station asked me.
Well, okay.
It's fun to do.
I'm great, as you said, at filling airtime. You're a great statistics and facts man. So, yeah, we could do this, or maybe you just want to do it yourself. I don't know. We can talk about it later.
No, it's fun.
We can talk about it later.
We could do some Dodger or Gale wrestling, or
Yeah, of
go
course.
over to Manson. Or
Of course, they'll want us to go out of town in the middle of winter.
yeah, I don't want to do that. I just want to do the easy one.
I do too.
Yeah.
I've made
I
that
already have 2 jobs. I don't need a third.
I've
one.
already made that
if,
offer.
If it becomes work, then I probably wouldn't want to do it. If it's something that's more for fun, like Dodger Invite or some big meet at
yeah.
senior high or St. Ed's or something, then I'd be all about it. But I wouldn't want to have to travel around and follow a team every week.
No. Rob Jones jeez, what a road warrior that guy is.
He is, man. He's all over the place.
He's all over the place.
He was at the council meeting Monday night. He's everywhere.
The Grassley
if
meeting.
there's something going on, Rob Jones seems to be there.
And he can report about it in a way that people understand.
Yeah, I think he prefers sports to news.
Oh,
Who-
without a doubt.
Yeah, he's a sports guy. I mean, that's his kind of his mantra.
He comes in and talks. He comes in here and blows away Randy and Nevin, and they're pretty good.
They're
Really.
very good.
Randy,
Yeah.
especially, and Nevin's going to bark at me for saying this, but Randy knows his basketball. I'll
Yeah.
tell you, he does.
Yeah, Nevin's a good baseball guy.
He's a real good. Nevin's a good sports guy.
Baseball, basketball, definitely some football, but I would say baseball and basketball would be Nevin's 2 premier
Wheelhouse,
sports.
yeah.
But I mean, he can talk track and field with you. He can talk all kinds of stuff.
Yes, he can.
Yeah,
But you want to know about college basketball? Coolman's your man.
Coleman knows a lot about basketball.
He really does. Well, he was
I've
a college.
listened to those guys on your show, and sometimes I'm like, do they got like some kid sitting over here with a computer looking this up? Because I'm like, how does he even know that?
Well, they have their phones, but
Yeah.
oftentimes they don't refer to them. A lot of
No.
times it's right off the top of their head coming from
Yeah.
memory.
It's a lot
You
of
know?
stuff.
And I jumped in here with him thinking I knew something. And, it's
Yeah, I think you've fooled yourself into thinking you know all kinds of things.
I fooled myself into thinking I knew everything.
Doctor of truth.
The doctor of truth. I really kind of thought that. Well, I just need to know. I'll look up a couple of questions and I'll ask this scientist from Iowa State about this, and he gives me the answer, and it's way over my head. I have no follow-up question because I didn't understand the answer the first time. So
It's like when you start talking to like Tony Trotter about water and wastewater.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And he starts explaining the chemistry and the principles behind how you take this raw water and you soften it through the RO system and all that stuff. And I'm just like, okay. So it goes through a bunch of pipes and it comes out the other end. It's clean and it's better for you. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Brian Peterson does the same thing to me over at Blue Ribbon Pelham.
Sure.
And Brian's a very bright man, and he comes in. I start asking him questions. It's hard for me to follow him. It really is.
Yeah.
And oftentimes he sees that in my eyes and said, "Listen, what you have to know is it's just softer and better if you use my product.
Yeah.
It depends on the level of water softness that you want,
Sure. Sure.
and that's the real truth.
That is.
But
And then the wastewater, I mean, you got all kinds of weird stuff going on there. I mean, you're treating human waste and industrial waste and all this stuff. And then they start talking about BODs and CODs and suspended solids.
they'll acronym you to
and,
death.
oh,
you
yeah.
know.
And then, you got these ammonium nitrates, and then you got the sludge on the holding ponds. And I'm just like, well, okay, man. And then they start throwing in stuff about bugs. And I'm like, and when you hear bugs, you start thinking like, are these like little worms or something? But they're like parasitic bugs, and they eat part of the waste, and then they expel a gas, and all. It's just unbelievable.
I had Bill
A lot
Horn.
of chemistry.
You know Bill Horn, of course.
Absolutely. I saw him yesterday.
Did you see Bill
He
yesterday?
was driving through town. but
Okay.
Yeah, I saw him.
When I first got Bill on the air, he came in here and he's a very friendly guy. And I talked with him outside the
Mhm.
station before, of course. And he came in and he's a very friendly guy, of course. And in that very friendly way of his, he explained to me that journalists don't know what the hell they're talking about 99% of the time. And he wasn't really trying to put the finger at me, but I could have been in that group, because
Sure.
I had the audacity to invite him on the air thinking
Mhm.
I could talk agriculture with him. And all I really knew was the difference between soybeans and
And
corn. Yeah. And hogs and pigs,
Yeah.
Or, excuse me, hogs and
Hogs
cattle.
and cattle.
Yeah, that was the-
chickens and turkeys.
And he very patiently explained to me, he started getting into agronomy, and his specialty really is international ag relations and trade issues. You can learn a lot from Bill Horn.
Oh yeah,
you
he was growing. I think it was like
potatoes.
organic potatoes.
Yeah, for a German company.
Yeah,
He took me over to his house one day. We had lunch over there in
Canerum?
Canerum, yeah.
Yep.
He invited me over for lunch, and we went in there and had hamburgers. Then he took me out to his farm, and he showed me this little patch of genetic potatoes. If he's listening, Bill, call us 955-1400. By the way, and I thought he had like a quarter section of ground planted in him, or something, or 80 acres. It was just a little plot, But German people came to his farm, German professional people, to examine the growth of these crops and see how they were doing. I was highly, highly impressed.
Oh yeah, he's a smart man.
He's a sharp guy, and whatever rewards he's had in life, he certainly deserves them.
Yep.
I think most of our ag people, I can say that for.
Oh, yeah.
So, did I see you at the Grassley thing yesterday?
No, I was
you
at
were-
work.
You were not there. Okay.
Nope.
Well,
It's been a very busy week. There's a couple of bigger projects bidding tomorrow and Friday, and then we're just busy with work. So
sure.
most of my time's been on my day job.
The big question today is, what are you doing with that 49ers hat on? Did Mike over at Old Boston get to you, or what?
No, I've been a
You-
49ers
you've always
fan
been a
all my
49ers
life.
fan?
Oh yeah,
No kidding.
Cardinals and 49ers.
Cardinals and 40. You are a weirdo.
I know, totally strange. Yeah.
So I thought you guys, Mike over.
Michael's a San Francisco Giants fan,
Yeah.
baseball. And football, I believe he is I'm trying to remember what Mike is. A Packer, I think.
Oh, wait, he's all messed up then.
Yeah.
we should have him see a therapist, for God's sake. Packers. Where did he? No, there's a couple of places in Fort Dodge I went into a couple of times, and people were wearing those cheesehead hats,
Oh,
so
yeah.
not to be outdone, Iowa State people started coming in to watch the Iowa State game with corn heads.
Corn heads, yeah. Yeah. You see those corn heads down at the Hawkeye games.
And the
too.
Hawkeye
Yeah.
games too, yeah.
Yeah.
It might have been a Hawkeye game for all I know. I was watching it years ago. You're already looking at your watch. You got something to do here?
No,
or
I'm
what?
getting some text messages.
You're getting some text messages.
I've got a project that it's a rather complex one that at one of our local industries, and
Oh, well, let's talk about it now, Matt. I can handle it.
I don't know. What do you know about diesel generators?
Well, actually, I've run them before, but and I worked.
Do you know
on
how to
them.
wire an automatic transfer?
Oh, of
switch?
course I don't.
Okay. Now then you won't be of any help to me.
No, hell. I didn't think so. No, I've there've been times.
Now we have to change out some large electrical switchgear. To do that, we have to put a generator in line to run this facility so we can change out this other equipment so that they don't have to not run.
Mhm.
So it's one of those kind of complicated, putting all the pieces in the right place, and then you got to get it temporarily hooked up. Got to do a short outage, all this stuff. So I've been texting back and forth with one of the facility people on how we're going to do that.
Good friend of mine was an electrician. Yeah, well, he's retired now, but he was an electrician his whole life up in Algona, where I'm from. And he would ask me for help every now and then.
Yeah.
And especially in the winter, I was doing masonry work at the time. We didn't work in the winter. And I'd help him, but the only thing I ever did was string wire,
Yeah.
He kept me away from the hot spots.
Yeah.
Especially back in those days, I'd come in and look like hell, Well, you better go work on it. Okay, I will. Okay, I will. But anyway, Matt and I are just having coffee in here, I guess. So we're having a
seems
chat.
like it.
So if you have a question or comment for the mayor, it's 515-955-1400. That was
there we
fast.
go.
Well, there we go. Good afternoon. You're on the air with the mayor.
Hey guys, Bill Horan.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, we were talking about you. I guess you know that.
Well, I just happened to catch it. Yeah.
Well, those
I
are the
just-
nicest things. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to tell you that the products that we were growing was not organic. It was GMO.
A GMO.
Well, it was human RNA
Human RNA.
that was expressed in potatoes.
Is that ribonucleic acid?
No.
Okay, that's what I remember from chemistry. What RNA stood for?
No, that's acid. Like say LSD or something.
Well, no, I think
No, it isn't.
ribonucleic acid is a building block.
Well, you could be right. See, Bill, we're
I don't
still
know.
confused.
Yeah.
You know, without you, we're
Dumb
lost.
electrician and a radio guy.
Yeah.
We're not impressing anyone.
We're not impressive anybody. No, you're right.
So Mayor Matt, you get that generator hooked up. Tell them if they burn 100% biodiesel, it will have a lower carbon footprint than an electric car.
Huh. Interesting.
I
I will have to see, but I don't know that Cat Ziegler will let him run biodiesel in there. I don't know if Cat Ziegler runs biodiesel or not.
Oh yeah,
The generator's
all
coming
diesel
from
engines do. Yeah.
Yeah, but
No
it's not.
problem.
We don't own it. You know what I mean? It's coming from
Right.
Ziegler, and I don't know if Ziegler
Sure.
would allow them to put biodiesel in there. You know, people have territorial thoughts on all that stuff.
You know, Bill,
Well,
I'm
Diesel's a little different.
always
Diesel is a Go ahead.
no. Please, Bill, you continue. I have a follow-up question.
Well, I was just going to say, all the diesel engines can run 100% biodiesel or any blend. Yeah. New York City has a 20% blend in every truck, every fire engine, every delivery truck. It's required.
Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
I wonder if the city of Fort Dodge uses any biodiesel.
I wouldn't be surprised. Well, there's 5% biodiesel in every gallon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anywhere locally you can buy the full 100% biodiesel? Anywhere
I don't
locally
know
in
if you-
Fort Dodge?
Well, I don't know about Fort Dodge, but Mansfield is the headquarters for a fuel delivery company. You can get biodiesel everywhere.
I'll have to ask that question.
Bill, I'm always glad when you call because you know politics as well as ag economics. What did you see anything that helped biodiesel in the last session that we had here in Iowa?
Well, no. There's good policies that the governor is pushing to get more biodiesel used. But instead of an option, it got labeled a mandate.
Oh, okay.
That was the death of it.
Yeah,
But
that'll do it.
she's putting together an interim study committee and brings back next session.
I'm a little concerned, Bill, and I really appreciate you calling in. I won't keep you on the phone, but I'm a little concerned about the Biden administration and their climate change people, their attitude toward ethanol. Ethanol has become our lifeblood. Have you seen anything that we should be concerned about, or any good news from the Biden administration on ethanol?
Well, what I've been told by the National Biodiesel Board is that they've had many more conversations with this White House than they did with Trump.
You're kind of breaking up a little bit, Bill.
Biodiesel and ethanol. It's a shovel-ready green product.
Okay. Bill, I want to thank you for calling in. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us?
No, it's commercial time.
Yes, it is. I got to make a living too. Hey, Bill,
Thanks for calling, Bill.
have a great 4th, Bill.
Definitely. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you. I guess he's gone. Yeah, I could. It was tough for me to hear him.
Yeah, it was pretty garbled.
Yeah.
I don't know if we had a bad connection or it was feedback or
Who knows?
not sure because this speaker being this close to this mic, I don't know if that.
You see the volume buttons down there? If that happens to you again, just turn them down a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll be fine. All right, it's exactly 4:30. Matt Bemrick is our guest, and we're broadcasting from the Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters studio at 612. Well, no, we're not at 612. Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters is at 612 South 32nd Street here in Fort Dodge, and you can call them by dialing 576-6481. The news is next, of course, and the mayor will be back.
Alpha Media and Johnson Family Auto present the Greased Pig Family Obstacle Course. You could win a half a hog for your grilling enjoyment this summer. Stop into Johnson Family Auto anytime this week and register to be a contestant. If your name is drawn, you and your family will compete against others in various fun, crazy games. If your crew comes out on top, you win a half a hog from the Lee Wright Locker.
Though animals will be harmed during these games, the half a hog was already dead.
Register to play in the Greased Pig Family Obstacle Course now at Johnson Family Auto, past the sports page on North 15th, Fort Dodge.
Your news, your